Alright, let's play another 3-2 game, maybe in an opening that I don't know or that I don't play every day, so you can see what kind of takeaways I get from it. You see my blitz rating here has suffered a little bit because of this experimentation, but that's okay. More than happy to do it, that's all short term. Let's go for a Queen's Gambit here. This is another opening I don't play with either color. I don't play the Queen's Gambit declined, I don't play d4 with white. And let's play knight c3 here. And we'll see what black does. Okay, so I know that here if you play knight f3, black can even take on c4 right away. I think I'll just play e3 here and just defend this pawn and see how this goes. Okay, now we get a semi-Slav. This is an opening I'm familiar with because I do play this as black. And here black usually plays knight b to d7, and white can either play bishop d3 or queen c2. I'm just going to go ahead and play... I think I'm going to play queen c2. If you play bishop d3, then they can take, and then play b5 and try to play bishop e7 and c5. Okay, and this move I'm not too familiar with. I'm trying to think what the idea might be. I know black sometimes has ideas to play for like knight e4 and queen a5, but that's usually in the lines where you have your bishop out of the pawn chain on g5. So with the bishop still inside the pawn chain, I don't think this pressure to c3 is going to be as big of a concern. So do I play bishop d3 here? I think if I did, black might take, but I think I'm okay with that. That would get rid of black's stronghold there in the center. So let's go ahead and play bishop d3. Okay, I will get castled as well. And I might want to play for e4 later. I might put the question to this bishop and try to secure the pair of bishops. There's multiple ways you could think about playing here with white. Firstly, does e4 work right away? That's kind of a question. If I play e4 here, I have to watch out for some of your, remove the defender ideas with bishop takes c3. But I still have enough support. My concern is that, you can trade the knight for the bishop and then bring the other knight to f6, so I don't love it. Maybe I will just play a3 here. And if you take, I don't have to accept double pawns. I'll just be happy with my pair of bishops. I can think about queenside expansion. Okay, now it's a no-brainer, I think. Just b4. And now can I play for e4? I think here it makes quite a bit of sense, and white has a clear space advantage. Now you can take, and play knight f6, though. Okay, you're not going to play knight f6 yet. So, what's going on here? I have a space advantage, but how to proceed? I guess one question is, where does this bishop go? It could go to b2, it could go to perhaps e3. I'm going to put it on b2 because there could be some d5 breaks in the air in the near future. Let's keep my, my light bishop on the board. I'm thinking I want at least one rook on d1. Okay, after a5, probably here I play... I was thinking b5? Or maybe just do nothing. I probably don't have to do anything in response to that, do I? Let's bring the rooks to d1 and maybe e1. And I can think about an e5 breakthrough at some point. Also, probably just knight e5 makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Especially with the rook now, well, especially now that c6 is loose. If you take, you have big problems here on the d-file. And I think here I might play c5. It's always kind of a double-edged move, but I really like kind of blunting this bishop. I've seen this idea sometimes, and it's come back to hurt me in games where I had the black pieces. I just like shutting this bishop out of the game and turning c6 into a long-term weakness. Now I can open the d-file if I want to, kind of eyeing this queen. I think I might do that instead of taking towards the center. It also opens this bishop, which is nice. So I don't think black really should have played this way. Black has a big weakness here on c6. I've kind of made this bishop pretty bad, and bishop h7 is an immediate threat. Okay, black kind of parries that. Maybe bringing this bishop now to f3 makes sense, just to eye this weakness. You always want to ask that question, where are the weaknesses? That's a very important question to ask in chess. And I think here bishop e2 makes sense. Now, you have to ask what your opponent's going to do, though, and I think knight d5 might kind of just shut me out. So maybe instead, maybe I just play b5 right away. Thinking about either b6 or c6. That's the idea. I just want to make a passed pawn and turn my 2-on-1 majority into a passed pawn. So let's see how this goes. Could play c6 right away, but then you defend your pawn. I'm thinking probably bishop takes and maybe c6 next. Could make sense. Passed pawn should be pushed. And I have a very strong passed pawn here. The question is, what to do from here. Running pretty low on time once again, like I always do in these commentary videos. Okay, and I guess I just swap and bring my other rook to the d file. I think once again I have a very good position here as far as I can see. It's just going to be a matter of black's enormous time advantage and if I can convert this. I don't think I should be losing the c pawn on any line. I don't see any way for black to really gang up on that pawn enough. Maybe knight d5 could be an idea now. And I'm trying to think how I would meet it. It's kind of annoying that I can never dislodge that knight. Let's make space for the king. And if knight b4, I think maybe queen c3. Now I have to be careful, of course. And I'm running really low on time. Let's gain a tempo on the rook. Can't go wrong with that. And I'd love to make some threats. It's just hard to see how to bring them to fruition here. Black can easily parry these threats. Probably just queen e7 here, huh? Okay. Oh, that's not what I expected. Oh, I have to be careful of that. Yikes. Okay. Let's see how this goes. I'm just playing on instinct. I'm going to lose my pawn, but I have knight e3. Okay. Let's play this. Let's play this. If you take, I think I just take with check and then win the rook. Okay. I just have way too little time. I'll come back and take a look after the game, though. I'm curious where I kind of went wrong here. Still surviving for the time being. Not anymore. And that's the game, unfortunately. Yeah, once again, got a very good position, but played way too slow and kind of lost on time almost. Let's take a look at this in the analysis board. So, in the opening here, this is all normal, queen c2. I'm not too familiar with bishop b4. I'm actually going to check. Yeah, this is very rarely played here, this bishop b4 move. So I'm curious. Yeah, my reaction seems to be correct. Bishop d3, castle, castle, a3, good. That's the most common move. b4, bishop c7. And people haven't played e4 here. Looks like white once played bishop b2 and once played rook d1. I'm kind of curious what the downside is to e4. Does the computer like it? Okay, it says white has a small advantage. You can't fully trust this chess.com engine, but it looks like it thinks bishop b2 is better. I don't fully understand why, although I guess e4 does kind of make it easy for black to exchange a set of pieces, which is kind of not what you want when you have a space advantage. You always want to be thinking about why the computer is saying what it says, by the way. If you're going to use a computer, don't just blindly trust the evaluations. And if you don't know why, then you either have to do more analysis or you can't count it as a takeaway, right? You always have to kind of translate the ideas into human words and takeaways you can use, not just computer numbers. But even here, I think certainly white has to have a pretty good position. I'm kind of curious if the computer agrees. Interesting. It likes bishop h7 here, just driving the king away before bishop e2, and I think that makes sense. I'm just curious to see maybe where this went wrong a little bit. So here, I think this is very good. I'm curious if it likes the c5 idea. Guess it's not a huge fan. I kind of like the idea, although it is a big downside to give away the d5 square for the knight, right? That's always the downside when you push c5 in a position like that. I had to very quickly weigh in the game, of course, if the upsides were going to outweigh the downsides, and it really appealed to me to block out this bishop and fix this pawn as a weakness long term. But the knight being on d5 and having permanent access there really kind of, screwed me over in the end. So I'm curious if it thinks I have any advantage. Certainly here I have to be much better, right? That's my feeling with the open d file, the threats to create a passed pawn. Yeah, certainly I think black misplayed that by letting me open the d file like that. And I think creating a passed pawn is a pretty good idea here. I think white is certainly quite a bit better. I'm surprised that the computer only thinks I'm plus 0.14. But I guess that's kind of in line with what I found in the game. I thought I was just much better creating a strong, far advanced passed pawn so fast. But I guess with so many pieces left on the board, and the fact that this knight can come to d5 and really shut out my activity on the d file, maybe it's not like so amazing to have this pass c6 pawn, huh? So that's pretty interesting. That's, you know, a good takeaway to get there, that I maybe overvalued the pass c pawn. So let's see. Okay, we get some pieces coming off the board. I thought that would help increase the value of this pawn. I'm curious if the computer agrees here. No, it doesn't, because again, knight d5. The knight's just so strong on d5. And I guess I really didn't anticipate that enough. So I think here it's really just close to equal. I mean, the pawn's nice, but what to do with it? There's really no way to advance it, and it's very hard for white to find an active plan here, surprisingly. And eventually I kind of blundered under time pressure. I lost the pawn. These pins on the d-file didn't win any material back. And, of course, in the simplifications, I just blundered back rank mate. But I was already much worse if I'm just going to be down a pawn. But I am pretty happy that my reactions there in the opening were more or less correct, and I was able to get a pretty good advantage, once again, in a line that I don't really play with white. So I hope how I was thinking there in the opening and early middle game was instructive, especially for players who don't have, you know, super deep opening preparation. That's really what I'm going for here, trying to play lines I'm not as familiar with. So you can see, you know, how I go through this process. Of course, the downside is when I spend so much time in the early middle game and the opening, well, you see the result later on in the game. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please make sure you visit chesspathways.com and get signed up there. It's totally free, only takes 5 seconds, and I will send you a free move-by-move guide to chess thinking when you sign up. It took me way too long to become a chess master, and I want to help you do it in a fraction of the time. Thanks, and I will see you there.